were without star forward and former number 1 overall pick Paolo Banchero. Obviously, quite a few concerns in this game, and I disagreed with Fitz. Continued to say kind of latter stage of that fourth quarter, once it became apparent the Warriors were going to lose, that the Warriors were beaten by a better team in this game and a team that played better. And I don't really believe in that. I feel like the Warriors had more talent out on the floor in this game. They got good, really, really good games from Steph Curry and Jimmy Butler. And I think if I was to take one thing out of this game, and again, we're trying to see this from a big picture, right? I don't want to single out games on a game by game basis, as easy as that is to do. But my biggest takeaway, I suppose, from this and then looking at the big picture of things is I feel like there's a real lack of consistency, particularly offensively, beyond Steph Curry and Jimmy Butler. And that has obviously been a huge concern even before Jimmy's arrival, and just everything, being loaded up onto Steph in terms of consistent night-to-night production. And Jimmy comes in and Jimmy's really consistent as well. Beyond that, it feels like feast or famine with a lot of these guys. And I know that's role players, right? And particularly young role players. Okay, in the NBA, that happens, right? You have good games, you have bad games. It's really up and down. I understand that. But it feels like you should have more than two guys who you can kind of trust offensively. And the Warriors kind of don't have anyone else apart from Steph and Jimmy. Like, Moody was absolutely amazing on Sunday. 30 career high, 32 points, 7 threes in the first quarter, went off, fantastic. He has 6 points in this game. Brandon Pajemski, thought it was a nice performance from him on Sunday. 19 points, 3 rebounds, 3 assists, 8 of 13 shooting from the floor off the bench. Don't mind him in his kind of a six-man role, but he's got to provide something in the way of scoring, and he has 5 points in this game, blows an absolute wide-open layup. 3 of his points came at the end with a corner 3 that didn't matter, basically, in the final 30 seconds. So you get 11 points out of those guys, and then looking down the bench, Horford got to the line a few times, got 9 points, which I suppose is standard Al Horford. Not a horrific game from him, but it's still he only shoots 2 of 6 from the floor. You have Buddy Hield, just a complete. I don't know what Buddy Hield's doing, bro. He's providing absolutely nothing. Like, can you imagine watching this? Imagine if you'd never been introduced to the sport before, right? You didn't know any of the players, and you just like sat around and watched the game, watched Buddy Hield's 13 minutes in this game or whatever, just completely non-existent. Like, you just wouldn't even remember Buddy Hield, right? And you'd be like, this guy does nothing. Imagine then telling that person who's watching this game that this guy went for 33 points in a game 7 of the first round playoff series literally 7 months ago or whatever it was, 6 months ago. Can you imagine telling that person based on what we're seeing from Buddy Hield right now? It's quite incredible. Richard, like I like Will Richard, but he's not going, aside from that Sacramento game where he dropped 30, like he's not coming out and having 15 necessarily every night and providing you too much of a spark offensively. He's a connecting piece. And that's the thing. The Warriors, it feels like they have too many connective pieces. I feel like they missed the dynamic athleticism and potential scoring of Kuminga in this game. Now, again, Kuminga's inconsistency started to show up just before his absence with this current knee tendonitis. So, I don't know, just like I think the game comes down to two things. You have Steph go for 34, Jimmy go for 33. Those guys play really well, but Draymond was the only other player in double figures with 12. Orlando had 6 guys not only scoring double figures, but score at least 13 points in this game. So that's what it comes down to. And then it comes down to the complete inability to keep Orlando out of the paint. They outscored the Warriors 64-46 in points in the paint. They made just 8 threes. They were 8 of 32, like 25% from 3-point range. Just not a great shooting team. So that's not a surprise. I mean, points in the paint and just the offensive versatility, I suppose, from the Magic in terms of getting production out of 6 different guys as opposed to the Warriors who just had Steph and Jimmy, and that was it. And it's a real shame that those guys played really well, and I never felt like the Warriors were going to win that game because every time they made a push, they were down basically the whole game, and every time they tried to make a push, there'd just be a 3 that would clank off rim that would just hold the momentum, or like a turnover at the most inopportune time. Like, what about it wasn't even a turnover, the one where Steph missed I think the margin might have been like 5 or 7 in the fourth, and Steph misses a running bank floater, and then Franz Wagner just has a dunk on the other end. Like, there's no one back for the Warriors. It was like a 1-on-0 fast break. And so, yeah, just it never felt like the Warriors were truly back. They got to a point a couple of times where 5, 7 points, you think if they get the next basket, now we're right in it. And it didn't happen for whatever reason, whether that be a role player missing an open three or a layup or just some turnovers. So it's disappointing. It's disappointing, particularly given this was probably the winnable game. I feel like second night of the back-to-back against Miami, they could get Bam Adebayo back. It feels like that's going to be tough, based purely on the way Miami play. They are playing so quickly. They've got easily the number one pace in the league so far this season. Feels like that's a team you don't want to play at the end of a 6-game road trip on the second night of a back-to-back, third game in 4 days. I don't even know if I'd play the veteran guys. That just feels like a game you're going to lose. That's a scheduled loss, right, already. So this was the winnable game. You win this, you lose to Miami tomorrow. I'd be like, yeah, fine. Like, you go in 10-7 after these tough 17 games slate to start the season. I would have been fine with that. Now it's like you're probably going to be 9-8 after 17 games, which again is back just over 500. Would have been nice to keep some momentum up and have a 4-game winning streak. And even if you lost to Miami, it's like, yeah, it's all right. We still got some momentum going back home. So this was the winnable game, particularly without Banchero. And yeah, disappointing result. All right, sorry, guys. I'll get into your comments here. Empire says, trade Buddy, Pods, GP2, and JK for Herb Jones and Keon Ellis. Warriors need some actual defenders with IQ. Yeah, the defense continues. Like, it feels like Draymond is kind of a one-man show sometimes defensively. Like, he's just that good defensively that he can kind of prop up your defense to be reasonable and good. It feels like do the Warriors have a real go-to perimeter defender? No, like Moody's obviously been tasked with that now after Kuminga was. Still feels like both of those guys can give up pretty easy, drives to the rim on occasions, and it's not like the Warriors have a huge shot blocker, rim protector inside either. So it's almost like Draymond Green's smarts and versatility that props up this defense more than anything, because from an individual standpoint, it's not great. Berserk Monk says, I had a bad feeling about this game. Hopefully Steph and Jimmy have their legs for tomorrow's game. Way more important to try and win against Miami for Jimmy. I'm not expecting much. I'm not, like, if they can get a win, great. But it feels like Miami's the last team you want to play, given the pace they're playing with, and given the Warriors, again, last game of the road trip, 3rd and 4 nights. Tough one. No Al Horford. It's going to be tough. Sorry, flicking back through here. Thandeka says, the Magic killed us in the paint and the offensive rebounds. When Steph and Jimmy score 30, we still lose. What's the point? When does Seth and Melton join the team? Well, Seth can be signed anytime. Melton's a bit disappointing because Steve said yesterday that he's not close. So it feels like he's still, I don't know, I was thinking that maybe by the end of the month he's back. Feels like, well, when you say not close, well, I don't know what that means. Is that another month? Is it another 6 weeks? Is it another 3 weeks? Like, I have no idea, but it's a little bit disappointing. Knox says, this team is so confusing. One game we beat a team with Wemby and then lose to the Magic with no Paolo. Yeah. The frustrating thing in this comments seem they always go to the most recent, so I've got to flick back through. Berserk Monk says, Orlando is good at getting to the paint. You could even watch highlights of the Magic versus Rockets game, and you can see Orlando constantly getting into the paint for layups. Yeah, they're big, they're long, they're athletic, they're young. It's always going to be a problem. Killer Bear says they need help. Berserk Monk says Orlando is a good measuring stick for what we can kind of expect from the Rockets, except that the Rockets are actually leading the league in 3-point percentage. I'm not even sure we want to put ourselves in the same tier as the Rockets right now, to be honest. Empire says Kerr needs to stop playing Buddy and GP2 together. They don't provide offense and barely provide defense. Good point. There's no other options really right now. That's the kind of the problematic thing. Berserk Monk says Kerr thinks his 3-4 guard lineups are good because they worked against the Spurs. Empire says Buddy makes me depressed. Yeah, he's the funny thing is Steve had a quote the other day talking about how good of a teammate Buddy Hield is, how good of a locker room presence he is. I don't care. I'm sorry. You can be the best bloke in the world if you're not doing your job, which is to make buckets and shoot the 3 ball at a decent rate. Then he had one good cut to the layup on a feed from Quinton Post in this game, and the other 13 minutes of the game were like, I don't know what he was doing. It just felt like he was out there doing cardio. Berserk Monk says these awfully sized lineups only work when Steph is on an absolute heater. These 4-guard lineups don't help. Now we must win tomorrow. I wouldn't say it's a must win. It's still early in the season. Like 9-8. I'd prefer to be 10-7, but it is what it is. And then you go home and you try and get on a bit of a run from there. Pod shot 20%, Buddy 33%. Why are they playing more than Will? Did Buddy actually play more minutes than Will Richard in this game? Because if so, that's an absolute... I don't think that's the case. Pods would have. Buddy and Will played the same. That's horrific. I didn't realize that. It felt like Buddy was out there for 5 minutes because he just didn't do anything. He played 6 less seconds than Will Richard. That is a joke. You have to, like, I want a journo to go, or a media person, ask Steve Kerr, like, what makes you wonder, what makes you think that Buddy Hield is deserving of the same amount of minutes as Will Richard right now in this game? Seriously, like, what is it? Because I can't think of a logical reason as to why Buddy Hield would play essentially the same amount of minutes. That is truly bizarre. Going back through your comments here. I can't get over it. I can't believe they played the same amount of minutes. That's wild. Fenix says Al looks bad. I didn't think he would be this awful. I thought he played okay today. He missed a few. He made his first 3, missed a few. He finished with 9, 6, 1 assist, couple of steals and a block. He wasn't the worst player in this game. In fact, he was probably the 4th best beyond Steph, Jimmy, and Draymond, you'd imagine. That's not saying a whole lot, though. Al won't play tomorrow anyways. Horford is fine, but he's constantly putting in awful lineups. Dumpster Fire says, I'm so sick of our role players being so inconsistent. It's so annoying. That's my biggest takeaway from this game. That's my biggest takeaway is, like, can Moody and Pods and even like Buddy and even like Post, the post situation is such feast or famine. Like, he'll have games where he knocks down like 4 trays and looks unbelievable. And then he'll just have games where, again, the last few he's played, like, he played 12 minutes in this game, which is actually on the high end of what's happened over the last few games. And he misses all 3 of his threes, 1 of 4, doesn't really do anything. So, I mean, this, again, it's role players. When your minutes fluctuate as much as they do, like, the production's going to fluctuate as a result. But, geez. Like, I'm really looking at Moody and Pajemski, right? Because those guys are getting a guaranteed 26-plus minutes a game. And it feels like you should be able to find some kind of rhythm if that's the case. And Moody's been great, right? I'm not being too negative on Moses. He had 32 points, a career high, 32 points on Sunday. But if you look at his numbers in these recent games, so he goes 24 and 28, great. Then 2 points against Denver, not good. Then 4 of 11 shooting with 4 fouls, 13 points against Indiana, 10 points against OKC, 19 points against the Spurs and was excellent in the first half. Fantastic. Then has 4 points against the Spurs. Doesn't do anything. 2 of 8 shooting. Then has a career high 32 against the Pelicans and then has 6 points in this game. Like, it's just, I'd prefer, as good as the 32 points was against the Pelicans, I'd prefer him to have like 20 in that game and have like another 15 to 20 in this game. Like, massage it out so it's more consistent. Like, he's averaging 13.2 points a game so far this season. That's fine. But I'd prefer that to be a more consistent 13 points a game rather than like 25 one night, 5 the next. So anyway, Robbie says we've got to try to get Trey Murphy or Gafford. Size or scoring, Buddy, JK, and Pod should all be tradable. Yeah, there's moves this team can make, no doubt. And Trey Murphy's the absolute ideal. Because he's so perfect, I just don't think the Pelicans are going to give him up, but who knows? Dumpsify says Moody was the worst player on the court. That's a problem after he goes for 32. Like he's still good. It doesn't mean you remove him from the starting lineup or the rotation or anything. It's just you would like some level of consistency. Everyone talking about Moody's inconsistency here, which is the same. It's not just Moody. It's literally everyone beyond Steph and Jimmy and Draymond. Like that's what it is. Like it's literally everyone. And that's you want another guy, whether that's a star or whether that's a high-end role player. You want another guy who you can go into every game knowing what they're going to give you, or at least know that they're going to give you some level of offensive production. Feels like the Warriors just aren't getting that from anyone right now beyond Steph and Jimmy. And then Draymond is relatively consistent defensively. Yeah. Sorry, you guys are talking about Moody's minutes, Moody's production even before I went through and was listing off his previous game. Berserk Monk, Moody was awesome versus Pelican, then gives a 6 points. So based on that pattern, Moody is going to be on fire tomorrow, potentially. Gucci says, let's say GSW is choosing between trading JK for A, Laurie Markin, or B, Demantis Sabonis. Who would you prefer? How about C, neither, because you'd have to give up Draymond Green? Not going to happen. Would you consider giving up Draymond for Markkinen, like Draymond and Kuminga for Markkinen? You'd have to give a pickup as well. Like, what do Utah want with Draymond Green? I just don't think the Warriors are doing that, and they're definitely not doing it for Sabonis. That's why Trey Murphy's the ideal guy, because he can be your fourth guy alongside Steph, Jimmy, and Draymond. If you are looking at a piece that is making $40+ million, it has to include Draymond or it has to include Jimmy. And I'm just not sure the Warriors are doing that unless it's like a clear upgrade on Jimmy Butler. And when I mean clear upgrade, I mean Giannis Antetokounmpo, right? Or some other like top 10 guy in the league, which again is unlikely to be happening. Empire says, I have no faith in this team with Kerr coaching. He's constantly making the same dumb decisions. Pods had 27+ minutes and gave us 5 points. Needs to be better, no doubt. B says, getting really unfortunate that Kuminga has skipped 3 games now. He was exactly what they would have needed in this matchup. Agree with that. They were just too small, and GP2 was subpar. Agree with that. Post shot terribly lately. It's a shame. It is. I don't know. Again, I'm talking about the role guys. Some of it, especially with Post, when he's playing like 1 minute he'll play 20 minutes, the next night he'll play 4 minutes. Like I understand the difficulty in that, particularly when there's added pressure when you know your minutes are limited. You need to come out and you need to make shots to actually stay on the floor. Nah, JK would have been scapegoated had JK been gambling on steals the way Moody was, and getting blown by Dubs fans would have been going insane. They were clearly undersized versus his team. True, JK might have been the scapegoat. But he would have been much more useful here than GP2. Sorry, I keep losing the comments here. Empire says, it seems like Post defense improved this season, but his offense has regressed. I just think the offensive regression stems from the inconsistent minutes. Post is probably the one player where I blame his inconsistency on Steve. That's the one guy I'm like, I don't particularly really get his inconsistent minutes. I think he should be getting 12 to 15 minutes at least every game, and he's just not getting that. Robbie says, well, Steve needs to give shooters consistent minutes to keep their efficiencies up. Rhythm does matter unless you're Buddy Hield, then it's a lost cause. Yeah, I feel that. But then it's like you can't make that argument for Moody and Pods, who are getting consistent minutes and whose shooting is going up and down a little bit. B says Steph was a mess tonight from the start, just tired. I thought Steph was good. Steph was excellent in this game. He might have been tired by the end of it, but he was 34 points, 3 rebounds, 9 assists, 3 steals, 5 turnovers. That's the whole turnover thing is just I'm just gonna stop talking about it, because like we know it's Golden State's kryptonite. Like we know it's just been happening for a decade. Like I mean, feels just like such a lost cause to continue saying, oh, the turnovers, the turnovers, the turnovers. Warriors lost again because of turnovers. Like it's almost like I'm not looking at turnovers whatsoever, and I'm looking at other aspects because I know the turnovers are just always going to be an issue. It's just what the Warriors do under Steve Kerr. If Yeah, Berserk Monk says, I'm not blaming Steph or Jimmy. They did their job. Absolutely. Authentic says, if Buddy, Pods, and Moody had 10 plus, we win this game. Yep. Steve says, Warriors need a third guy that can score. Buddy isn't it. Pods and Moody are not it. It's obvious. Yeah, I feel like it's really weird because it feels like this time last year we were saying the Warriors need a second guy, right? And they gave up the guy who was their second guy in Andrew Wiggins at that point to get Jimmy Butler. Good move. Fine. Now they've got Butler. They've got two guys. Great. Now they need a third guy, right? So, and they need to do it without giving up one of their two guys, or Draymond. So who is that? I think Trey Murphy's still the guy. The one that I floated out, I did an episode over on the Patreon earlier today talking about potential trade targets. And the one I did mention was DeMar DeRozan, who in many ways does not fit the Warriors whatsoever. But if you're looking for a third guy who is like proven, consistent, done it for a dozen years, would the Warriors be interested as as a third scorer who is going to give you consistent production on a nightly basis? Again, the spacing concerns are there. I think they're mitigated somewhat by, like, if Kuminga's in the deal and it was like Kuminga for DeRozan and a pick from the Kings, I don't love it. But like, if this continues, you're getting a real lack of consistency out of your role players, and you just need a third consistent guy. DeMar DeRozan does fit the bill. Now, giving up another young guy for an old guy and losing the length and athleticism there is a real problem. So I'm not sure the Warriors would do it. It's just, if you're looking at guys that are available and gettable, like, would the Kings flip? Would they give us DeMar DeRozan for Jonathan Kuminga? Absolutely, they would. They definitely would. I have no doubt about that. Now, the Warriors would probably want to pick, and then they'd probably haggle over the pick or whatever else. But if guys that are available who can be that third scoring option, that's the kind of guy I'm looking at, where it's like he's not a great fit. And it could work one of two ways. It could be like the Schroeder kind of thing, where it's a guy the Warriors kind of need, but it doesn't work at all. Or it could be Jimmy, because the same kind of spacing concerns and fit concerns that we had with Jimmy coming to the Warriors applies to DeRozan. And Jimmy came in and, has been high IQ enough where he just fit in straight away, and there was absolute seamless fit. So maybe DeRozan's experienced enough now where it's like he would actually fit kind of okay and would be the opposite of like the Schroeder situation. I don't know. It's just a name I'm thinking of because, as I keep saying to you guys, the lack of consistent production beyond Steph and Jimmy is a real concern, and it goes beyond this game. Berserk Monk, we just don't have great role players. We have okay, good role players, but not great. B says, I hope Steve realizes we're toast tomorrow and to rest all the vets. If we're able to beat Miami, it would be heroic from bench players. Fair. Robbie says, at this point, getting DeRozan for the scoring might be a real option. Did you say that in response to me, or did you say that beforehand? Berserk Monk, if you compare our guys to OKC, Wiggins, Isaiah Joe, AJ Mitchell, just those three guys are consistently giving OKC 45 points per game. Yeah, it feels like they are in a system and in a spot playing alongside Shea and Chet and stuff where it just, and because their defense is so good, and the points for those guys can come off, fast break threes, and, getting AJ Mitchell does a great job of getting to the rim and stuff like that. Feels like it's a lot easier for those guys to be able to consistently contribute. A little bit more difficult for the Warriors, but at the same time, like, if you're playing off Steph Curry, you're going to you should be getting your open looks. You should be able to get your opportunities to score, to be honest. Berserk Monk, we don't need Moody to give 30 every game, but he needs to be reliable enough to be penciled in for 12 to 15. Same with Pod's buddy JK. Yep. Yeah, you don't necessarily need a third guy that scores 20 plus. If you've got a third, fourth, fifth who all give you between 12 and 15, that's fine. But again, the Warriors can't bank on that. Steve says trade Buddy and Pods and a pick for someone. You know who makes the exact same amount of money as Buddy Hield and Brandon Pajemski combined? The exact same amount of money. Kobe White. Just putting it out there. Just putting it out there. Pods and Buddy Hield make the exact same amount of money as Kobe White. I'm not saying I'd do it, but it's just a fact. B says, I'm not worried. 2 losses here. He was very likely given all the fatigue. Yeah, I'm not overly concerned either. It's just this is the disappointing one because this was a winnable game to me. Berserk, Mark, Warriors need to cough up picks and go get Trey Murphy. He fixes so many issues we have, issues that JK can't solely fix. I agree with that. I think I'd rather them trade for Herb Jones' defense and Trey Murphy's offense. No, I think I would. I think I'd prefer. Well, it depends, obviously, what you have to give up. And Herb Jones has got the guys that are making like $14, $15 million are a very awkward contract because they don't make as much as Kuminga, obviously, at 22.5, but they make a little bit more than Buddy at 9.2. So it's like, okay, what are the matching contracts? If you want to throw in Horford, then obviously you can get to it, but I don't think the Warriors want to give up Horford. So it's really interesting. The trade targets I'm looking at, it's guys that are making between, let's say, 20 and 30-ish million dollars, or guys making less than the 9.2, around about or less than the 9.2 that Buddy's making this season. Then next is after Miami, we have 5 games at home where we're unbeaten, so hope isn't lost. Yep. Robbie said the DeMar thing before. I didn't even see your comment. I did not even see your comment, and I brought it up. I don't know. It's just something to think about, I think. Particularly if I'm the Warriors and once Kuminga becomes eligible on January 15th, and I'm thinking about it now, even before he's trade eligible, but DeMar DeRozan's not your first priority, right? You are going out, you're seeing what it would take from the Pelicans to get Trey Murphy. You are going for a higher caliber player than DeMar DeRozan. But if we get to 24 hours before the deadline, the Warriors are just above, 500. They look like a decent playoff team, but they really lack a third scoring option. Kuminga's kind of still a little bit inconsistent, coming off the bench still at that point. If you've got nothing else you can do but trade Jonathan Kuminga for DeMar DeRozan, it feels like the kind of move the Warriors would consider. It doesn't feel great by any means. I'm not sure we're doing laps celebrating about it, but it feels like the kind of move the Warriors would make. Just putting it out there. Steve says you should be concerned. Have you not seen a trend here? Yeah, I'm seeing a trend in inconsistent production from the role players. Absolutely. Robbie says, I think I'd do a package for Trey Murphy and Herb Jones with JK Pod's Buddy. Not quite. You got to throw Moody in, I think, to get to, because Murphy and Herb make like nearly 40 combined. You'd have to throw Moody in as well, because JK Pod's Buddy gets you to 35-ish. Not quite enough. And then I think if you're going from if you're having to throw Moody in, then I think I just prefer to keep Moody rather than get Herb Jones. Feels like that's a similar-ish kind of move that I just wouldn't worry about. I think Moody, Herb's a better defender, Moses is a better shooter. That's much for muchness to me. I think I'd just rather give up Kuminga and something and picks, obviously, for Trey. Empire says last year when Buddy would have a bad half, he'd come back the second half and start making shots. Now he can't make shots in the first or second half. He's worse than Bronny now. Bronny James is catching strays. Berserkmo says, I think the Dubs bounce back hard against Miami. Steph's going to hard carry to get that revenge win for Jimmy. I'm glad you're optimistic because I'm not. Steve says, hope is lost. You're being realistic here. Kuminga's going to need... You can't give up your only athletic player. Every other team is long. Warriors are stuck in small ball heaven. Yep. But what's the panacea to that right now? How are you addressing... I mean, yes, giving up Kuminga, that's going to hurt it even more. But I don't know. I agree. It feels like, say, going from Kuminga to DeRozan, it feels like you're plugging one hole to fill another. if that makes sense. You're plugging one hole and creating another is what I should say. Coochie says, sounds like Pelicans and Warriors are trading players among themselves with all these ideas. Well, let's just get as many. Let's just let the Pelicans become the new age Warriors. They've got Poole and Loon already. Can I just want to say one thing. I reckon Loon, I'm not sure Loon's going to be on the Pelicans for very long. Do you know what should happen? It's never going to happen. But what should happen is that the Pelicans should buy out Kevon Looney in the first year of his deal. They should just be like, we made a colossal mistake and we just do not want this guy on our team anymore. He has no purpose on this team. And just buy him out, even though he's got another $8 million left on his deal next year. Is it all guaranteed? I'm pretty sure it's all guaranteed. They should just do that and say, you can go back to the Warriors. And Warriors should just like waive TJD and bring back Loon on a minimum. Just for the vibes, just for the locker room. Because, man, I'm not sure what he's doing in New Orleans. I'm going to finish it up there, I think, guys. Been going for just over half an hour here. Disappointing L. Again, biggest takeaways, the kind of lack of consistent production from Moody, Pajemski, and other role players in younger types. It is what it is at this point. I don't see it changing a whole lot. Hopefully we get more development from Pods and Moody. They're still young pieces. They're still getting better. So I have hope for some of those guys. But the Buddy Hield stuff, the Gary Payton second stuff is not great. And I don't love the way that Steve's treating Quinton Post, it must be said. And Horford, I don't have an issue with Horford. As much as he hasn't probably lived up to what we would have liked at this point, I'm still pretty confident that he'll be fine in the long term. And then, assuming we make the playoffs, he's going to be a pretty reliable playoff piece for you. And that's kind of what you got him for anyway. So, Empire says, I think we all agree that the Warriors aren't winning a championship before Curry retires. Why not just stop the rebuild now? Stop or start the rebuild? Ron says, dang, I just got here, ripped my life. I'm gonna go and edit this and put it back up as a YouTube vid with a bit better quality audio, obviously, for you guys. So go and check out the full replay. Pod's buddy Trace for Gafford, it works. I'm not sure Gafford's that good. I'm not sure I'd be giving up Pods for Gafford. And then the money doesn't work. So I'm not sure about that. Alrighty, guys, I'm going to finish up there. Again, I'll put this replay back up on YouTube with some improved sound quality for people. So if you are watching on replay, much appreciated. If you're listening via the podcast feed, much appreciated as well. If you haven't subscribed to the YouTube channel already, that'd be greatly appreciated. You can follow me at POC252. That's POK252 on X/Twitter, on TikTok and Instagram, Golden State with Mates as well. Robbie says JK for Trey Murphy, Gafford or Murphy would be good. Murphy's the absolute ideal target, no doubt about that, but he's probably also unrealistic at this point. But you never know what happens with the Pelicans, and we've still got well over 2 months here, 2.5 months till the trade deadline. So anything could happen between now and then. Thanks again, guys. Enjoy the rest of your night if you are in the States. Still plenty of basketball with the Jazz and Lakers coming up here, along with the Suns and the Trailblazers about to kick off as well. So might go and enjoy